Welcome to the Posture Dojo podcast. My name is Sam Miller. This podcast is about exploring different ways to correct and transform posture based on some of my own experiences, correcting my own 85-degree kyphosis scoliosis. I'm here connecting with experts in a variety of fields from breathing, movement, gymnastics, holistic medicine, every field that can add value to creating, building, and transforming postures. So welcome to the podcast. On this episode, we have Dr. Michael Lande.
Hello Sam.
Give us a little bit of background about who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm a chiropractor. I've been in practice for 15 years. I have a very broad base of treatments. I use everything from traditional chiropractic to osteopathic techniques to energy work to postural retraining. And then on the other hand, we do really cool stuff like stem cells and performance enhancing medicine, anti-aging medicine, a bit of biohacking. So it's a really broad scope of stuff we do. You can find us at Vortex Vitality Tulum on Instagram or stemcellstulum.org online if you want to find out more about what we're doing down here.
Perfect. Yeah. So there's a lot to dive into. You actually just took me through a adjustment. We've done a couple sessions together. I've come out of each session feeling aligned. There's certainly, you're doing some muscle testing, and immediately after the adjustment, I'm feeling that, I guess, more of an effortless strength. Mm-hmm. So something I guess that I'd like to start with, and it's what you mentioned in our previous session. A chiropractor is less of like a carpenter or a builder, and more of an electrician. What did you mean by that?
Okay, well, chiropractic is all based on taking interference out of the nervous system. And the nervous system is the master control system of your body. Your central nervous system controls and coordinates every action of your body, both conscious and subconscious. So the path from the brain is the spine, and the brain and the spine together make up the central nervous system. You said that you felt stronger after the adjustment. Obviously, I wasn't changing your muscle composition. I wasn't changing your actual strength. What I was changing was the connection, was the pathway, so that the signals to contract the muscle could hold better. And that's all about aligning the spine. So it's really about taking interference out of the nervous system so that your body can function better. People think of it as like, I'm fixing your bones, mm-hmm. or it's a fix for back pain, and it kind of works like that. But really, when you understand that it's all about just clearing the interference from the nervous system, you see its real power, and also we see its limitations.
Beautiful. So what types of interference, what are the real common interferences that you'll see that people develop in regards to people who might be struggling with their posture?
Well, again, there's neurological interference, meaning that you have certain holding patterns that you've trained into your body, and so your body automatically goes back to them. And then we're all these amazingly multifaceted, complicated pieces of machinery or organisms, so the posture is always connected to emotional stuff. And all of these cliches we have in life, like sit up straight, take a deep breath, they're actually based in your physiology. You can change your experience of life by going from this to this. Now, that's simple, but it's not easy. It can be a lifetime of work going from this.
Yes, it is.
But it really is that simple. As soon as you get into a proper posture, your heart's open, you're not hiding, different pathways start to fire off. If you're into energetic terms, it activates different chakras. And so if you can do that consistently and make it your default way of being, you actually change how you experience life.
Beautiful. Yeah, so we have a shared perspective in that sense. We're creating this new default experience of life. So, personally, I had that perspective that chiropractors were about aligning the bones. That was my understanding. I'd done a couple sessions here and there. And then, I have people who are, they have some type of scoliosis or, that lateral curvature, or kyphosis, which is that forward neck, or sometimes a combination of them. Sometimes, in my case, I have a wedge-shaped vertebrae, which has basically compromised the whole system. And without that awareness, it created this holding pattern that I've been, correcting and unfolding, I guess, over the years. And recently, I've really valued the understanding that, yes, our nervous system is that extension of the brain, and it appears in my case, and I believe many other cases, that the kyphosis and scoliotic curves are created when the nervous system has become so tightened that the vertebrae don't have the space, the room to elongate and extend and grow, especially in those teenage years when it formed for me and many other people who suffer these types of postural deficiencies. The nervous system being rigid for whatever reason, sometimes emotional, sometimes physical, prevents the growth of the vertebrae and creates that warping effect. So where do you begin to kind of look at, I guess, removing that interference, which is that rigidity in the nervous system?
Well, that's the whole point of everything I do. So again, it goes back to the individual case. They call scoliosis idiopathic, which means to them, we don't know the cause.
Yeah.
I mean, it means you're an idiot if you can't see the cause, because it's pretty obvious. If you're misaligned, if your pelvis is way off level, if there's a lot of interference in your nervous system, when you speak of that, when you hit your growth spurt, that's what causes the scoliosis, the kyphosis. And at a very basic level, it's way easier to prevent things than to fix things. So, So, the whole idea of chiropractic, again, is to put ease into the system rather than leaving it in a state of dis-ease. So I've taken this philosophy, which is beautiful and can be applied to everything, and expanded it as many directions as I can, from, what we adjust, where we remove the interference from the nervous system, which is called subluxation of the nervous system, which is
subluxation.
Subluxation. Luxation is a medical term which means dislocation. A subluxation is less than a full dislocation, but it puts your body in a state of dis-ease, which eventually turns into disease rather than ease.
And this is part vertebrae, ligament,
it's going to be the whole vertebral motion unit. You don't really change the vertebrae. You do change the alignment, but in changing the alignment, you change the proprioceptive input. You change what's moving is the ligaments and the joint capsules. Because when you move two bones, you're really making a change in the space between the bones. You're not really making a change in the bones.
And when that happens, you mentioned proprioception, that internal awareness of our own functioning and your own ability to create that strength of that movement.
Yeah, proprioception is there are proprioceptive nerve endings, which are literally sensors in our body that tell our body if our own position in space. So when the map of your body matches the reality of your body, you have easy movement, you feel good, you feel, connected. When the map of the body doesn't match the reality of the body, you get like aberrant motion patterns, you get muscular splinting, which people call compensation, you get guarding, it can even cause brain fog. It's kind of like garbage in, garbage out. So that's what on a very physiological level, that's what the chiropractic adjustment does. It realigns the joint, so it improves the proprioceptive input, which then improves the motor output, which is why you feel an immediate strengthening of, in your muscles right after an adjustment.
Tell me more about this map. Is the map always, does it want to be in that correct aligned space? And then when we have these postures, we're just unconsciously creating interference with that map. How can we use this map to start becoming aware of some of those interferences and create that new default state?
Well, again, to me, it all goes back to mental mastery and awareness, and then the body follows. You can also help the mental state by helping the body, but it really is about about making your default way of being a state of ease. So people will talk about posture. Oh, I have to pull my shoulders back, this or that.
Yeah.
You can't go through life like that. If you think about pulling back your shoulders, what happens 2 minutes later? You go back to that because you can't go through life like you're in gym class.
Or developing new tensions, holding that
Exactly.
that posture.
It leads to a different set of problems if you
And
do it
interferences.
long. Yeah. So what I advise for posture is you just make yourself as tall as possible. When you breathe in, imagining you're being pulled up by a...
And where are we breathing?
We're extending our spine right now. Okay? So as we breathe in, we're picturing our spine going up, and as we exhale, all the tension except in our spine disappears from our body. So wherever our shoulders go is where they are. Breathe in, feel yourself getting taller, exhale, relax, let go of all the tension. And do it again. Breathe in, get taller, and exhale, and relax, and let go of all the tension. That's your posture today. If you want to change your posture, that's about the chiropractic. That's about the exercises. It's not about walking around remembering to pull your shoulders back, because that's using the wrong muscles anyway. If you pull your shoulders back consciously, you're using the muscles of movement to fix your posture. You have to use postural muscles, which are kind of automatic holding muscles.
One of the big, challenges I have, especially like creating content about this, talking about these topics, I get comments where like, hey, what's the tip? What's the one exercise? What's the one thing I need to do to fix my posture? And it's tough because there's so much, right? But I mean, you've broken it down very simply there, from the breath up and allow everything else to relax. But what would you, someone wants to fix their posture, what elements does somebody need to really bring awareness to for you to build a healthy, no interference posture?
Okay, well, to go through it, in the daily life, again, it's about just standing tall and extending your spine and trying not to hold tension in your body. To change your posture, we have a variety of tools from exercise, like looking at force ratio between the front of the body and the back of the body. We need our back of the body to be stronger than the front of our body because we naturally fall this way. Most people in the gym, unless they're really conscious, work too much on the front muscles on the front of their body because they're the ones you see in the mirror, and you want to look good. Yeah, the see me muscles. Yeah. Your abs, your pecs, your biceps, and if you only work those, you're going to end up with that gym posture. If you really work the back, your posture will slowly change to something more than this. And then the big part is really the emotional habitual part. Like a lot of times when I'm in an initial consult with a patient, they'll be telling me their problem, whatever it is. If it goes back to a car accident, if it goes back to something that happened when they were a child, and as soon as they start talking about their problem, they go like this, and they lose their posture, and they go into this posture of being defeated. And so as soon as I see that, I know there's a heavy emotional component to what's going on with them, because as soon as certain triggers happen, their body goes into defensive mode. And as soon as they go into defensive mode, it triggers a chemical emotional feedback loop. And since we're on automatic pilot 95% of the time, this sets our default way of being. I believe that everything starts in the mind and ends in the mind. I also love physical interventions and biohacking and chiropractic and all that stuff too, and I think it's very valuable. But what I mean by it begins in the mind and it ends in the mind is it begins with our attitude, and then whatever happens, we experience it in the mind. So it's really colored by our lenses of perception. So any work we're going to do has to start with a lot of self-examination to figure out which of the multitude of interventions and methods that can help are going to be right for the person. And some people, it really involves a lot of mental, psychological, emotional, energetic work. And other people, it's very little of that and much more physical. And some people are a combination. So one of the most important things is trying to figure out what it is that the individual person needs. Beautiful.
Yeah, and choosing new thought patterns that eventually create a new holding pattern in your body.
Yeah. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's wonderful. Everyone knows about him these days, but he talks a lot about not just having the intention, but then fueling the intention with
Feeling the result.
with elevated emotions. So you can have the thought pattern, and then you have to give the thought pattern love, or you have to give the thought pattern joy, or you have to give the thought pattern gratitude. And when you funnel these elevated emotions through your new state of being, both mentally and structurally, it starts to adapt, and you start to live a much more brilliant life.
Yeah, the electric thought is one thing, but synchronizing and empowering it with the magnetic heart, bringing it into that body, that's when you really truly embody that new posture and that new thought.
And when taking it back to posture, if the posture is incorrect, if you go, this is a posture of aggression, the body's forward, the chest's out, this is a posture of defeat. If you're not allowing space for the new energetics and thoughts to flow through the body, that can be the bottleneck, that can be the block. So it's a multifaceted thing that's endlessly fascinating working with different people.
What's your thoughts? If you are someone who struggles with your posture, if you're constantly, I have scoliosis, I'm struggling, it's such a struggle, it's so hard to hold my posture, these thoughts that become your words, these become your posture. So you're actually programming that struggle, that difficulty into the posture. Whereas if you're, as you're suggesting here is, I stand with ease. I breathe to my highest postural potential with ease. I have no pain, no effort to stand into my highest self. And that feels amazing. That's that's a healthier way to do it.
Exactly, and there's some tips with that too. Everything is a polarity. So feeling more cold, when does feeling more cold turn into feeling less hot? So, you know what I mean? You can say it's not as hot as I'd like it to be, or you can say it's really cold.
Right.
As soon as you say it's not as hot as it likes to be, your mind is focusing on the hot. It's not focusing on the cold. And you try it sometime, you'll see you'll feel less cold almost immediately as soon as you start focusing on how warm you are. And another important part in these little mental exercises is we can only go as far as we believe. So if we're miserable, we might not be able to believe I am wonderful and in a state of grace and everything is perfect, and our logical mind might just reject that and stop it from happening. But we can probably find something to give gratitude for. We can probably find something about ourselves and our body to give gratitude for, even if it's that you can walk. There are people that can't walk.
Or the breath itself.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we start with what we can believe, and we start by trying to give gratitude both for what makes us happy, but also for ourselves. Because if we're not giving gratitude for ourselves, it's almost like we're saying we don't deserve it.
Yeah.
So that's really where I advise people to start with the mental emotional state. Just a gratitude practice every morning where you really give gratitude for whatever you're grateful for. Try to include yourself in it. Start with things you can really believe. People talk about manifestation and the secret, and I think there's a lot of power in that, but if you can't believe it yourself, it's not going to work. So again, like if you're miserable, you might not be able to believe my life is wonderful, but you can probably believe, God, it's nice that I have a place to live and I can walk and there are people worse off than me. So that's where you start, and you slowly build on it.
Yeah.
And then as we build, there's so many wonderful techniques and practitioners who do both psychological work, structural work, exercise specialists, and you'll have to find what's right for you. Like personally, I used applied kinesiology or muscle testing a lot as a tool because it's a way to individualize treatments, and I think it's a great thing to look for in a practitioner near you because it's a way to personalize the treatments.
Well, I'm grateful for you for sharing your perspective and your experience in this field. Beliefs are limiting, and sometimes it's even our own positive beliefs where I'm good, I've let go, I believe I don't have tension in this area. But then you move into a position or you work with a practitioner who reveals that in your own body and brings that awareness to that tension or that limitation, and allows you to overcome that and let that go. Because I've found, I keep going deeper and deeper, and I think I've let go of tensions, but then I see, I have another level that I can let go.
It's interesting you bring that up, because what I find is that we're constantly dealing with the same issues. And every time we want to bring it up a level, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, performance-wise, we always have to go back to the same stuff. You know what I mean? Whether it's an issue with your mom as a kid or, a postural thing, you're good for a while, and then you want to take it to another level. So you have to figure out how to level up, and it's usually the same thing. It's like we're throwing sandbags out of a balloon, but they're the same sandbags.
Right.
So yeah, like what you're saying, it manifests in the physical and it manifests in the mental, emotional as well. So we always have to go back to the same thing.
So that's that holistic approach, the whole multiple dimensions of physical, emotional, spiritual. So there's one tip which I know a lot of people are looking for, and then I have one more, and then we'll wrap up here. So the tip that a lot of people have, especially spending time on the phone, whether we're lying down, and we've this forward neck posture, the tech neck. It's got a bunch of different names. Kyphosis. What would you tell someone? How do you fix forward neck?
Okay, most people who have forward neck don't simply have forward neck. If you do, it's as simple as holding the phone in front of your face or raising your computer screen. Most people, and you can show this better if you're sitting, but most people, their posture's off starting from the low back. They're slumping, they're not supporting themselves recently. So you see, by engaging my low back and engaging my abs slightly, my neck aligns itself. Like as soon as I'm don't have my abs engaged, everything's off. And as soon as I sit up, everything's straighter. So again, you have to look at the individual again. If the whole posture's off and the chest down, which is usually the case when you have forward head posture, you have to start from the base of the spine, engage the abs correctly, and again, pull yourself up.
So engaging is tightening the abs, or?
It's slightly tightening the abs. It's not like you're walking, again, through this. You can't walk through life creating too much tension, but I would say it's like a 30% tightening.
Tight enough so that we can still breathe fully into this area.
And we don't really feel ourselves tightening it, so that's why when we do it long enough, it becomes automatic. But as soon as we do this, we're supporting the spine with the abs, just like the ribs support the higher spine, and we can form a good posture through the whole thing. Again, if we're like this and our head's forward, we can't, it can't do it until we line up everything else around it. So even within the spine, you have to be holistic at the outlook and look at what's going on.
Okay, so activating that, engaging that, finding that place of ease, and then identifying anything that might be interfering with that.
And before you do that, stretching your spine with your breath as much as you can, so your spine's extended axially, and then it's easier to find the strength, the alignment that's right for you for that day.
Yeah, I've found a lot of value by realizing that the eyes to the occipital is this great lever that we have, and when we have that occipital engaged and our eyes engaged, we can kind of start as we're breathing, we can start kind of using the movement, the range of motion that we have on top here to really start kind of choosing how we want to stack the highest part of our posture.
Saying the exact same thing from a different perspective that I'm saying when I say imagine you're being pulled up from here, because the way the joint between your occiput and your atlas is shaped, it's like a bull. So it doesn't move straight forward and back, it scoops. So if you want to lift, you can think about doing it from here. You can think about tucking your chin. I like to think about it from here because this is the highest point. So if I pull here, it's going to, scoop my occiput a little bit, but it's also going to extend my whole spine through there, and it's going to, adjust your eyes, it's going to adjust your skin, your chin, but it's just another perspective. And so I like to start from the top up, But there's,
I think when I do that, I lose awareness of my chin and I start going like this, and that's exaggerating part of the curve I might have.
But what you're doing then is you're making this, your forehead, the highest point. If you make
As opposed to this.
the highest point, your chin's going to align by itself. And that's why I make such a big deal about it being back here. Now,
Nice.
if I do this, I'm doing exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
But if I do this, it's,
From the
and
back.
everything beneath it will align as long as there's ease, as long as there's not the tension getting in the way to distort it.
Beautiful. Nice. Okay.
you.
So final kind of question, you mentioned you do some stem cell stuff. I know it's a burgeoning kind of industry, a new field. For someone in my case, or someone with a scoliosis kyphosis, what areas or what advancements in stem cells would be a good idea to pay attention to in terms of, having a healthy, long-lasting spine?
Well, stem cells are amazing regenerative medicine, okay? They are kind of like little information packets that show our body how to grow. They're extracted, the ones I use are extracted from umbilical cord of live birth babies. So they're literally designed to grow the baby. They have amazing anti-inflammatory properties, they have amazing anti-fibrotic properties, and they have regenerative properties. So we have to look at the individual again. For someone who's, early 30s, in health, living a healthy lifestyle, you're probably going to get minor benefits from stem cells because the growth is set and it might help with some remodeling, but not that much. I wouldn't, if someone came in and they were like, for instance, you look very healthy. You're not that old. You're doing a lot of things to take care of your health. I wouldn't necessarily suggest stem cells as the best way to use their money because it is an expensive treatment. If someone came in who was 55, they had no energy, they felt a lot of pain in their spine, they weren't, they really needed a reset. The general overall health restoration and anti-aging properties of the stem cells is going to do them a ton of good. They're going to feel like their posture is better, but only if they start doing the other work.
Got it.
The stem cells work, but if you don't change your lifestyle, the problems come back in 3 months or 6 months. Another thing is if it's based on an injury, on a herniated disc or something that, an actual injury, the postural problems, then there's some amazing things you can do with direct injections. But again, it's on a
Into the vertebrae area?
Into the disc.
The disc.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a case-by-case basis.
Right.
And, if I had to say a sentence, I would say the stem cells are not what you need for scoliosis.
Sure.
But looking at any individual person, it could still do them a ton of good.
Got it. Good to know. Yeah, for more different specific kind of traumas or damages, it seems more.
Or overall, just anti-aging vitality treatment is really what it's amazing for. Like the changes I've seen in people from one treatment are amazing. They look 10, 15 years younger and their outlook on life changes because it's a regenerative process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for, teenagers, 20s, 30s, it's really about identifying what is that interference in your highest posture? Is it emotional? Is it physical? Is it muscular? Is it skeletal? Is it breathing? It seems that's where the focus should be.
Or what combination is it of all those things?
Of all those things, exactly.
It would be nice if it was as simple as relating it to one. But that's a good place to start.
Beautiful. Yeah. All right, well, I recommend if you're in Tulum, coming and checking out a session with Michael to kind of get his perspective around your posture, looking at it from multiple dimensions, as well as some great alignments as well. So thank you very much. Let us know if you'd like to come down to Tulum and have a collaborative kind of postural regeneration session here as well. So, Michael, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you very much, Sam. That was a lot of fun, and let me know when you want to do another one.
For sure. All right, thanks everyone.